Some women endure indignity so quietly that even their silence becomes a kind of armor. They survive small cruelties wearing masks of composure, waiting, not for rescue, but for the exact right moment to stop pretending. But what happens when the person who dismissed you never once stopped to wonder who you really were? If you've ever been underestimated by someone who should have known better, this story is for you. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Now let me tell you about a woman who learned that patience isn't weakness, and a man who mistook her silence for surrender. The spit lands on her collarbone, not her face, not her shoulder. The exact hollow where her throat meets her chest, where the silk of her blouse dips just low enough that the wetness slides under the fabric before she can stop it. She doesn't move. Around them, the atrium of the Meridian Tower hums with voices, executives crossing marble floors, assistants balancing coffee trays, security guards stationed near the elevators. No one turns. No one stops. The man in front of her adjusts his cufflinks, his jaw still tight from whatever he just said, and steps around her like she's a column he miscalculated while walking. Her hand doesn't rise to wipe it away. Not here. Not in front of the cameras angled down from the corners of the ceiling. Not in front of the woman in the charcoal blazer 10 feet away, pretending to scroll through her phone but watching everything. She counts. 4 seconds. Then she lifts her chin, adjusts the strap of her bag higher on her shoulder, and walks toward the elevator bank. Her heels make no sound on the polished stone. The doors ahead reflect her shape. Dark hair pulled back, posture straight, blouse still damp against her skin. The man is already gone, swallowed by the crowd near the revolving doors. Inside the elevator, she presses the button for the 43rd floor and watches the numbers climb. Her reflection stares back from the steel panel. The wetness has dried to a faint shadow on the fabric. She doesn't touch it, doesn't look down, just watches the floors tick upward. 12, 18, 24. The doors open. The hallway stretches long and silent, lined with floor-to-ceiling glass on one side and closed office doors on the other. At the far end, a conference room glows with interior light. Through the transparent walls, she can see shapes, men in suits, one woman standing at the head of the table, a presentation screen casting blue light across their faces. She doesn't walk toward it. Instead, she turns left, away from the glass, and stops in front of a door marked only with a number. 4307. No nameplate, no title. She pulls a key card from her bag, not the one clipped to her belt loop, but a second one, matte black with no logo, and holds it against the reader. The lock clicks. Inside, the office is small. A desk, a chair, a single window overlooking the skyline. No photos on the walls, no personal items on the surface except for a leather folder, closed, and a pen lying across it at an angle. She sets her bag on the desk and opens the folder. The first document is a stock ledger. Rows of names, percentages, acquisition dates. Her finger traces down the left column, past entries marked with corporate entities, trust funds, holding companies. Near the bottom, one entry stands out, not because it's highlighted, but because the percentage beside it is larger than any other on the page. 41%. Her thumb presses against the edge of the paper, bending it slightly. The door behind her is still closed. The hallway outside is still quiet. Downstairs, the man who spat on her is probably in his car already, or back in his corner office 3 floors up, or in another meeting where someone else is nodding and taking notes while he talks. She closes the folder. From her bag, she pulls out her phone, not to make a call, but to check the time. 11:47. The board meeting starts at noon. She has 13 minutes. She opens the desk drawer. Inside, there's a second key card. This one is different. White, with a magnetic strip down the back and a small logo embossed in the corner. The same logo printed on every ID badge in this building. The same one hanging from lanyards on every floor. She slips it into her pocket. Then she picks up the leather folder, tucks it under her arm, and leaves the office. The door locks behind her automatically. In the hallway, the conference room at the far end is still glowing. The shapes inside have shifted, some standing now, others leaning over the table pointing at something she can't see. She walks toward it. Her heels make soft, deliberate contact with the floor. The woman at the head of the table glances up as she approaches, then looks back down at her notes. One of the men turns, his hand paused mid-gesture, and his expression shifts. Not recognition exactly, but something close to it. A narrowing, a recalibration. She doesn't slow down. At the door, she places her hand on the handle and pushes it open without knocking. The room goes still. 9 faces turn toward her. The woman at the head of the table straightens, her tablet still glowing in her hand. A man near the window, gray suit, thinning hair, wire-rimmed glasses, sets down his coffee cup slowly, his eyes tracking her movement as she steps inside. She closes the door behind her. No one speaks. She walks to the empty chair at the far end of the table, not the head, but the seat directly opposite it, and sets the leather folder down in front of her. Then she sits. Her hands rest flat on the table, fingers spread slightly, no rings, no bracelets, nothing that could make noise. The woman at the head of the table clears her throat. We weren't expecting, I know. Her voice is quiet. Not soft, quiet. The kind of sound that doesn't need volume to fill a room. The woman's mouth closes. She glances at the man in the gray suit, then back. The agenda was finalized yesterday. If you wanted to attend, there's a process. I'm aware. She opens the folder. The stock ledger is on top, the page with the percentages facing upward. She rotates it slowly so that it's right side up for the people across the table, then slides it forward 6 inches. The man in the gray suit leans in. His eyes scan the page. His jaw tightens. Where did you get this? She doesn't answer. Another man, younger, dark hair, navy tie, picks up the document and holds it closer, his thumb covering the margin as he reads. His expression doesn't change, but his breathing does. Shallow, faster. This is confidential, he says. It's accurate. The woman at the head of the table steps forward, her hand reaching for the ledger, but the man in the gray suit gets there first. He pulls it toward himself, smoothing the page flat with his palm, and reads it again, then a third time. 41%, he says. She doesn't nod, doesn't confirm, just keeps her hands on the table and her gaze level. The younger man stands. This doesn't make sense. The last disclosure was incomplete. The room shifts. Someone's chair scrapes against the floor. A woman near the corner, blonde, early 50s, pearl earrings, leans back and crosses her arms. Incomplete how? Trusts were consolidated. Holding companies were reclassified. Acquisitions were finalized under different entities. The public record reflects what was required to be reported at the time. This reflects what exists now. The man in the gray suit looks up. His face is pale. You're saying you control 41% of this company. She doesn't blink. I'm saying I own it. The woman at the head of the table sets her tablet down. Her hand is shaking, just slightly, just enough that the edge of the device makes a faint rattling sound against the wood. That's not possible. The majority shareholder is a trust, established 16 months ago, structured to remain anonymous until a triggering event required disclosure. What event? She tilts her head slightly, just enough to indicate the room around them. This one. The silence that follows isn't empty. It's thick, weighted. The kind that presses against eardrums and makes people shift in their seats without realizing why. The man in the gray suit sets the ledger down carefully, his fingers lingering on the edge. Who else knows? Legal, accounting, the transfer agent, no one in this room. Until now. Until now. The younger man leans forward, his palms flat on the table. Why would you wait? Why not disclose this months ago? She doesn't answer immediately. Instead, she looks at him. Really looks. The kind of eye contact that makes people want to look away first and lets the question sit there between them. Then she says, "Because I wanted to see what you'd do without knowing." The blonde woman in the corner uncrosses her arms. And you did exactly what I expected. No one asks what that means. The man in the gray suit pushes his chair back and stands. He's tall, taller than he seemed sitting down, and his posture is the kind that comes from decades of commanding rooms like this one. But when he speaks, his voice is careful. If this is accurate, then you have controlling interest, which means the vote scheduled for today is irrelevant. The woman at the head of the table's face goes rigid. The vote is to approve the merger. We've been negotiating for 8 months. The terms are finalized. We can't just... You can't. I can. The blonde woman stands now too. You're saying you're going to block it. She doesn't nod, doesn't shake her head, just watches them all recalibrate, one by one, as the reality of the situation settles into the space between their chairs. I'm saying the merger won't happen unless I approve it. And I haven't decided yet. The younger man's jaw clenches. This is insane. We've already announced it. The press release went out last week. The stock jumped 12% on the news. If you pull out now, then the stock will drop. Yes, you'll lose millions. I'll survive. Shut. The woman at the head of the table picks up her tablet again, her fingers swiping across the screen, searching for something. A number, a clause, a loophole. She doesn't find it. Her hand drops. What do you want? The question hangs in the air like smoke. She doesn't answer right away. Instead, she reaches into her pocket and pulls out the second key card, the white one with the magnetic strip. She sets it on the table in front of her, face down, the logo hidden. There's a man in this building, she says. Corner office, 46th floor. He's been operating under the assumption that his position is untouchable, that his decisions are final, that the people around him exist to execute his vision, not question it. The room is so quiet now that the hum of the air conditioning sounds loud. I want him removed. The man in the gray suit's eyes narrow. Removed from what? Everything. The blonde woman sits back down slowly. You're talking about the CEO. She doesn't confirm, doesn't deny, just leaves the key card sitting there on the table, its edges sharp against the polished wood. The younger man laughs, short, disbelieving. You can't just fire the CEO. There are contracts, severance clauses, board approval. I can do whatever I want. I own 41%. The rest of you combined own 32%. The remaining 27% is split among retail investors who'll vote however their advisors tell them to, which means if I want him gone, he's gone. The woman at the head of the table's voice cracks slightly. Why? She picks up the key card, turns it over once, then sets it back down. Because this morning in the lobby, he walked past me like I was furniture, and when I didn't move fast enough, he spat on me. No one breathes. He didn't recognize me, didn't remember my face, didn't remember that 2 years ago I was the one who signed off on the budget that saved his division, that I was the one who restructured the debt that kept this company solvent, that I was the one who took the settlement he offered and walked away without a fight, because I didn't want to make things difficult for anyone. Her voice doesn't rise, doesn't sharpen, stays exactly where it was, quiet, steady, and completely unshakable. He thought I disappeared, and I let him think that, because I wanted to see who he'd become when he didn't have to pretend to respect me anymore. The man in the gray suit's face is ashen now. You're his ex-wife. She doesn't respond. The blonde woman covers her mouth with one hand. The younger man sits down hard, his chair rolling back slightly from the force. The woman at the head of the table closes her eyes. He doesn't know you're here. No. He doesn't know you own the company. Not yet. The man in the gray suit walks to the window, his back to the room. Outside, the city stretches in every direction. Glass towers, gridded streets, rivers of traffic moving in slow loops. He's silent for a long time. Then he says, "If we do this, it'll be ugly. I know. The press will tear it apart. Shareholders will panic. Competitors will circle. I know." He turns. "And you're prepared for that." "I've been prepared for 2 years." The blonde woman picks up the ledger, her eyes scanning the numbers again, as if hoping they've changed. They haven't. She sets it down gently. "What happens after he's gone?" "You vote on the merger." "I'll abstain." "Whatever you decide, I'll honor." The younger man's voice is hoarse. "Why?" "Because this was never about the merger. It was about making sure that when he falls, he knows exactly who pushed him." No one argues. No one tries to negotiate. They just sit there. 9 people in a room with glass walls, staring at a woman they didn't know existed until 5 minutes ago. She stands. The vote happens at noon. "I'll be here." Then she picks up the leather folder, tucks it under her arm, and walks out. The hallway is still empty. The fluorescent lights hum overhead. She doesn't head back toward the elevator. Instead, she turns right toward the stairwell at the end of the corridor. Inside, the air is cooler. The concrete walls amplify the sound of her heels. Click, click, click as she climbs. 3 floors. No one else is in the stairwell. No footsteps above or below. Just her and the rhythm of her breathing, steady and even. At the 46th floor, she pauses. Through the small window in the door, she can see another hallway, wider than the one below, lined with art instead of glass, carpet instead of tile. At the far end, a set of double doors stands closed. No nameplate, no number, just polished wood and brass handles. She pushes the door open and steps through. The carpet absorbs the sound of her footsteps now. She passes offices with open doors, assistants typing, analysts on phone calls, someone laughing softly at a joke she can't hear. No one looks up. No one stops her. At the double doors, she doesn't knock. She just pushes one open and walks inside. The office is massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows on 2 sides, a desk the size of a dining table, bookshelves filled with leather-bound volumes that have never been opened, and behind the desk, sitting in a chair that costs more than most people's cars, is the man from the lobby. He doesn't look up immediately. His eyes are on his computer screen, one hand moving his mouse in slow, precise circles. Then he glances up. His expression shifting from irritation to confusion to something that might be recognition, but isn't quite there yet. "Can I help you?" She closes the door behind her. He frowns. "I don't have any appointments right now. If you need to speak with me, you'll have to go through—" "I already did." His hand stops moving. "Excuse me?" She walks forward, not to the guest chairs in front of his desk, but to the window on the left. Outside, the city spreads below them, 46 floors of distance between this room and the street where people walk without knowing what's happening above them. I spoke with your board, she says. They're voting on your removal in 8 minutes. He stands. What are you talking about? They're also voting on whether to proceed with the merger. That one's less certain. But yours is unanimous. His face darkens. Who the hell are you? She turns. For the first time since she walked into his building, since he spat on her in the lobby, since she sat in that conference room and watched 9 people realize their entire understanding of power had just shifted, for the first time she lets herself smile. It's small. Barely there. But it's enough. You really don't remember, she says. His jaw tightens. I'm calling security. Go ahead. He reaches for his phone. His hand hovers over it. Then he stops. Wait. She doesn't move. He stares at her. Really stares. The way people do when they're trying to place a face they've seen before, but can't quite locate in their memory. His eyes narrow. His breathing changes. No. Yes. That's not. He stops. Starts again. You signed the papers. You took the settlement. You left. I did. So what the hell are you doing here? I'm here because this morning you walked past me in the lobby and spat on me. You didn't apologize, didn't stop, didn't even realize what you'd done. And I thought, she pauses, tilts her head slightly. I thought it was time you knew. Knew what? That I never left. I just stopped letting you see me. His face goes pale. You're lying. Check your board meeting. They're holding a vote right now. On what? On whether to terminate your employment, effective immediately, no severance, no recommendations, no golden parachute. He grabs his phone now, unlocking it with shaking hands, swiping through screens until he finds what he's looking for. His eyes scan the text. Once, twice. His face drains of color. This is insane. I built this company. I saved it. I'm the reason we're even having a merger discussion in the first place. You're the reason they almost collapsed 3 years ago. I'm the reason they didn't. Bullshit. Check the ledger. Check the trust filings. Check the stock transfers from 16 months ago. You'll see my name on every single one. His hand drops. The phone clatters onto the desk. You own 41%. Controlling interest, which means every decision you've made for the last 2 years, every hire, every termination, every contract, it all happened because I allowed it. He sinks back into his chair, not slowly, not gracefully, just collapses into it like someone cut the strings holding him upright. Why? His voice is barely audible now. Why wait? Why not just take over immediately? Because I wanted to see what kind of man you'd become when you didn't have to answer to anyone, when you thought you'd won. And you spat on me in a lobby full of people and didn't even realize who I was. His hands cover his face. For a moment, he's silent. Then he laughs, short, bitter, hollow. So this is revenge. No, this is consequence. She turns back to the window. Below, the street is busy. People crossing at the light. Cars stopping and starting. A vendor pushing a cart toward the corner. Normal, ordinary, unaware that 46 floors above them, a man's entire world just ended. You should leave, she says. Security will be here soon. They'll escort you out through the side entrance. There's a car waiting. It'll take you wherever you want to go. But you won't be allowed back in the building. This is my company. It was never yours. He doesn't argue, doesn't stand, just sits there, hands still covering his face, shoulders rising and falling with shallow breaths. She walks to the door, places her hand on the handle, and pauses. "For what it's worth," she says, "I didn't want it to be like this. I wanted you to be better. I wanted to be wrong about you." She pulls the door open. "But I wasn't." Then she steps into the hallway and closes the door behind her. The conference room on the 43rd floor is empty now. The lights are still on, the presentation screen still glowing, but the chairs are pushed back, the table scattered with abandoned tablets and paper cups half filled with coffee. She stands in the doorway looking at the seat where she sat 20 minutes ago. The leather folder is gone. Someone took it, probably the man in the gray suit, probably to verify every word she said. They'll find it all accurate, every number, every date, every signature. Her phone vibrates in her pocket. She pulls it out. A text from a number she doesn't recognize. It's done. Vote was 9-0. He's been notified. Legal is drafting the statement now. She doesn't reply, just locks the screen and slides the phone back into her pocket. Another vibration. Different pattern. An email this time. She opens it. From Board of Directors, Meridian Holdings. Subject: Change in executive leadership. She doesn't read past the subject line, just closes the app and pockets the phone again. In the hallway, footsteps approach, multiple sets, moving quickly. She steps back from the doorway as 3 security guards pass, heading toward the stairwell. None of them look at her. None of them stop. She waits until they're gone, then walks to the elevator. Downstairs, the lobby is quieter now. Lunch hour. Half the building empties out at noon, flooding the surrounding blocks with people in business casual, hunting for salads and sandwiches and overpriced coffee. She crosses the atrium without slowing, her heels clicking against the marble, her bag still on her shoulder, her blouse still faintly damp where the spit dried hours ago. No one stops her. No one stares. At the revolving doors, she pauses. Through the glass, she can see the street, the sidewalk crowded with pedestrians, the traffic crawling past, the vendor on the corner selling pretzels to a line of tourists who don't know where they are or why the prices are so high. She pushes through the doors and steps outside. The air is cooler than she expected. A breeze cuts between the buildings, carrying the smell of exhaust and frying oil and something floral she can't place. She inhales once, slowly, then starts walking. She doesn't head toward the parking garage, doesn't hail a cab, just walks, 1 block, then another, her pace steady and unhurried until she reaches a small park wedged between 2 towers. A square of grass and benches and a fountain that's turned off for maintenance. She sits on the bench closest to the fountain. Around her, people pass. Joggers, dog walkers, someone on a phone call arguing about a deadline. She watches them without focusing, her hands resting in her lap, her breathing even and slow. Her phone vibrates again. She doesn't check it. Instead, she tilts her head back and looks up at the sky, pale blue, cloudless, interrupted only by the sharp edges of buildings cutting across her line of sight. She sits there for a long time, not thinking, not planning, not replaying the morning or anticipating the afternoon, just sitting. When she finally stands, the sun has shifted. The shadows on the grass are longer now, angled differently, and the foot traffic has thinned. She walks back the way she came, past the vendor, past the revolving doors, past the atrium where the spit landed and the cameras recorded, and no one stopped to help. But she doesn't go inside. Instead, she keeps walking. Around the corner, down a side street until she reaches a different building. Older, smaller, with brick instead of glass, and a doorman who nods as she approaches. Afternoon. Ma'am. Afternoon. Inside, the lobby is modest. No marble, no cameras. Just a desk, a single elevator, and a staircase leading up to floors she's never visited. She takes the elevator to the 8th floor. The hallway here is narrow, lined with numbered doors on either side. She stops in front of 804, pulls a key from her bag, and unlocks it. The apartment inside is small but clean. Hardwood floors, a couch, a kitchen with a window overlooking the street. No photos on the walls, no decorations except for a single plant on the windowsill. Something green and low maintenance that she waters once a week and otherwise ignores. She sets her bag on the counter, slips off her heels, and walks to the window. Outside, the city continues. Traffic moves. People walk. Someone across the street is arguing with a delivery driver, their voices muffled by distance and glass. She watches them for a moment, then turns away. In the bedroom, she opens the closet and pulls out a different blouse. Pale gray, cotton, no silk. She changes quickly, folding the damp one into a plastic bag that she'll take to the dry cleaner tomorrow or the day after. When she comes back into the living room, her phone is vibrating on the counter. This time, she picks it up. 3 missed calls, 7 emails, 2 text messages. She opens the first text. We need to meet. There are decisions that need to be made. She deletes it. The second text is longer. I don't know what you're planning, but the board is prepared to work with you. We just need to understand what you want moving forward. Please call me. She deletes that one too. Then she opens her email. Most of them are automatic. Notifications, confirmations, meeting requests. She scrolls past them until she finds one that isn't. From Legal Department, Meridian Holdings. Subject, documentation request. She opens it. Ms. My recipient, per your request, we have compiled the following documents for your review. Executive termination agreement, signed and executed. Stock transfer records, updated as of today. Board meeting minutes, approved and filed. Press release draft, pending your approval. Please advise if you require additional materials. She reads it twice, then closes the app without responding. On the counter, her kettle sits next to the stove. She fills it with water, sets it on the burner, and turns the heat to high. While she waits, she opens the cabinet above the sink and pulls out a mug. Plain white, no logo, slightly chipped on the rim. She drops a tea bag inside and watches the water begin to steam. The kettle whistles. She pours the water, watching the tea bleed into the liquid, turning it dark and murky. Then she carries the mug to the couch and sits. No TV, no music, just the sound of traffic through the window and the faint hiss of the radiator in the corner. She sips the tea slowly, her hands wrapped around the mug, her gaze fixed on the wall across from her. 3 hours later, her phone rings. Not a text, not an email, an actual call. She looks at the screen. The number is familiar. Not one she's saved, but one she's seen before, on documents, on emails, on the business cards that used to sit in a drawer in an office she no longer visits. She lets it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. Then she answers. Yes? The voice on the other end is male, older, careful. I'm calling on behalf of the board. We'd like to schedule a meeting. Tomorrow, if possible. What for? To discuss next steps. There are operational decisions that need to be made, and we'd like your input. My input? Yes. She's quiet for a moment. Then she says, I'll be there at 10. Thank you. We'll send over the agenda. I don't need an agenda. A pause. Of course. 10 o'clock. 43rd floor. No. 46th. Another pause, longer this time. The 46th floor is empty now. I know. That's where I'll be. She hangs up before he can respond. The next morning, she wakes at 6. No alarm, just her body deciding it's time to move. She showers, dresses in a charcoal suit that she hasn't worn in months, and makes coffee in the same chipped mug from the night before. At 9:15, she leaves the apartment. The walk to the Meridian Tower takes 12 minutes. She doesn't rush, doesn't check her phone, just walks, one block at a time, until the glass facade rises in front of her. Inside, the lobby is busier than yesterday. Morning rush. People flooding the elevators, juggling bags and cups and phones, moving with the kind of autopilot efficiency that comes from doing the same thing every day for years. She steps into an elevator just as the doors are closing. No one looks at her. No one speaks. Just 6 people standing in silence, watching the numbers climb. At 46, she's the only one who gets off. The hallway is exactly as she remembers, wide, carpeted, lined with art. But the double doors at the end are open now, and through them she can see people moving inside. She walks toward it. At the threshold, she stops. The office has been emptied, the desk is gone, the bookshelves are gone, the chair, the rug, the expensive lighting, all of it removed. What's left is just space, bare walls, bare floors, and in the center, a folding table with 6 chairs arranged around it. The man in the gray suit is already there, standing near the window. So is the blonde woman from yesterday, and the younger man, and 3 others she doesn't recognize. 2 men, 1 woman, all dressed in variations of the same uniform, dark suits, neutral expressions, hands clasped in front of them like they're waiting for instructions. The man in the gray suit sees her and nods. "Thank you for coming." She steps inside. "Where's everyone else?" "This is everyone." The rest of the board felt it was best to keep this conversation small. Small. Direct. She looks at the folding table. The cheap chairs, the bare walls. "You cleared out his office. We thought it was appropriate. Fast work. We were motivated." She walks to the window, the same spot where she stood yesterday, and looks out at the city below. The same view. The same traffic. The same people crossing the same streets. Behind her, the blonde woman clears her throat. "We've drafted a proposal. It outlines a transition plan. How we move forward operationally. Who assumes which responsibilities and how we communicate this to shareholders and the press. And we'd like your approval." She doesn't turn around. "What happens if I say no?" No one answers immediately. Then the younger man says, "Then we figure something else out." She turns. He's standing now, his hands in his pockets, his posture less rigid than yesterday. "Look, none of us knew who you were. That's on us. But now we do. And we're not interested in pretending otherwise. So if you have a better plan or different priorities, or if you just want to burn the whole thing down and start over, fine. But we need to know." She studies him for a moment. Then the blonde woman. Then the man in the gray suit. "I don't want to burn anything down," she says. "I want you to do your jobs, and I want to make sure that what happened yesterday never happens again." The blonde woman tilts her head. I mean no one in this building gets to treat people like they're invisible. No one gets to decide that respect is optional. And no one gets to operate without accountability." The man in the gray suit nods slowly. "That's reasonable." "It's not reasonable. It's baseline." "Fair enough." She crosses her arms. "The merger. Where does that stand?" "Pending. The other party is aware there's been a change in leadership, but they don't know the details yet. We can move forward if you approve, or we can pull out if you prefer. What do you want to do?" He hesitates. "Honestly, I think it's a good deal, but I also think it was negotiated under false pretenses. If we're going to do it, it should be done cleanly. Renegotiate the terms. Make sure both sides understand who they're working with. She considers this. How long would that take? 3 months, maybe 4. And in the meantime, we stabilize. We rebuild confidence. We prove we're not just reacting to a scandal. She looks at the others. Do you all agree? The blonde woman nods. The younger man does too. The 3 strangers in the back exchange glances, then nod in unison. All right, she says. Do it. The meeting lasts another hour. They go through logistics. Who reports to whom, how decisions get escalated, what happens if someone disagrees. It's dry, procedural, exactly the kind of conversation that used to make her want to leave the room. But she stays. When it's over, the man in the gray suit stands and extends his hand. Thank you for not letting this company fall apart. She shakes it. His grip is firm but not aggressive. Professional. I didn't do it for the company, she says. I know. He releases her hand and steps back. The others file out one by one, nodding as they pass until she's alone in the empty office. She walks to the window one last time. 46 floors below, the city moves. Cars, people. A vendor setting up his cart. Someone jogging with a dog. A couple arguing on the corner. Their gestures sharp and frustrated. She watches them for a long time. Then she leaves. That night, she doesn't go back to her apartment. Instead, she walks to a different part of the city. Quieter, older, where the buildings are low and the streets are lined with trees instead of skyscrapers. She stops in front of a brownstone with a green door and a brass knocker shaped like a lion's head. She doesn't knock, just stands there, her hand resting on the railing, her breath visible in the cooling air. After a moment, the door opens. A man stands in the doorway. Mid-40s, dark hair going gray at the temples, wire-rimmed glasses, a sweater that's too big for him and jeans that are frayed at the cuffs. He looks at her and his expression shifts. Surprise, then recognition, then something softer. Hey. Hey. He steps aside. You coming in? She hesitates, then nods. Inside, the house is warm. A fire crackles in the fireplace. There's a couch covered in mismatched pillows, a coffee table stacked with books, and a kitchen where something is simmering on the stove. He closes the door behind her. You hungry? A little. Soup's almost ready. Sit. She sits on the couch, her hands in her lap, her gaze fixed on the fire. He disappears into the kitchen. She hears the sound of a ladle against ceramic, the clink of bowls being set on a counter. Then he comes back, carrying 2 bowls and 2 spoons, and sets them on the coffee table. Eat. She picks up the spoon and stirs the soup. Steam rises, carrying the smell of tomatoes and garlic and something earthy she can't name. They eat in silence. When her bowl is empty, she sets it down and leans back against the cushions. It's done, she says. He doesn't ask what, just nods. How do you feel? She thinks about this. Tired. That's fair. And relieved. And angry. And she stops. I don't know. He sets his bowl down and shifts so he's facing her. You did what you needed to do. I know. And now? Now I figure out what comes next. He reaches over and takes her hand. His fingers are warm from the soup bowl. His grip is gentle. You don't have to figure it out tonight, he says. She looks at him, really looks, the way she hasn't in months, maybe years. His face is familiar, steady, the kind of face that doesn't demand anything, but offers everything. Stay, he says. She doesn't answer right away, just sits there, her hand in his, the fire crackling in the background. The city beyond the windows fading into darkness. Then she nods. Okay. 3 weeks later, the press release goes out. Meridian Holdings announces executive leadership transition. She doesn't read it, doesn't need to. She knows what it says, carefully worded, legally vetted, designed to reassure shareholders while revealing as little as possible. The stock dips by 8% the first day, then recovers by 5% the second. By the end of the week, it's higher than it was before the announcement. She watches the numbers from her apartment, her laptop open on the kitchen counter, her tea going cold in the chipped mug. Her phone rings. She checks the screen. The man in the gray suit. She answers, "Yes? The renegotiation is going well. The other party is cooperative. We should have something finalized by the end of the month." Good. There's one more thing. She waits. "We'd like to make your position official. Put you on the board. Give you a title. It doesn't have to be flashy, but it should reflect—" No. A pause. "No. I don't want a title. I don't want a seat at the table. I just want to make sure the company doesn't implode." He stops. "That's unusual. I know. People are going to ask questions. Let them." Another pause. "All right, if that's what you want." "It is." She hangs up. Outside her window, the street is busy. A truck is double parked, blocking traffic. Someone is leaning on their horn. A pedestrian is yelling at the driver. She watches for a moment, then closes the laptop and carries her mug to the sink. Her phone vibrates. A text from the man with the brownstone. "Dinner tonight?" She types back. "Yes." "I'll bring wine." Another vibration. His response. "You don't have to." She smiles. "I know." That evening, she walks to his house with a bottle of red tucked under her arm. The streets are quieter now. Families inside, lights glowing in windows, the smell of dinner drifting from open doors. At the brownstone, she knocks once. He opens the door immediately, like he was waiting just on the other side. Hey. Hey. Inside, the table is set. 2 plates, 2 glasses, candles that haven't been lit yet. He takes the wine from her and sets it on the counter. "How was your day?" "Long." "Good long or bad long?" "Both." He pours the wine, hands her a glass, and raises his own. "To both," he says. She clinks her glass against his. "To both." They eat slowly. Pasta, salad, bread that's still warm from the oven. The conversation is easy. Work, weather, a movie he wants to see, a book she's reading. At one point, he reaches across the table and touches her hand. "You're different," he says. "Different how?" "Lighter. Like you're not carrying something anymore." She considers this. "Maybe I'm not." "Good." After dinner, they sit on the couch, her feet tucked under her, his arm draped across the back of the cushions. "Can I ask you something?" he says. "Sure. Do you regret it?" She doesn't ask what he means. She knows. No. Not even a little? Not even a little. He nods, his fingers brushing the edge of her shoulder. "What about him? What about him? Do you think he regrets it?" She's quiet for a long time. Then she says, "I don't know, and I don't care." He smiles. Good. They sit like that until the fire burns low and the candles flicker out and the city outside fades into silence. Then she turns to him, her hand finding his, her voice soft but certain. "Stay with me tonight," she says. He doesn't hesitate. "Okay." Months pass. The merger finalizes. The stock stabilizes. The board settles into a rhythm that doesn't require her constant presence. She attends meetings when necessary, signs documents when required. Otherwise, she stays out of the way. Her apartment becomes a place she visits, not a place she lives. Most nights, she's at the brownstone, Most mornings she wakes to the smell of coffee and the sound of him moving around the kitchen, humming something she doesn't recognize. It's ordinary, and for the first time in years, that's exactly what she wants. One afternoon, 6 months after the vote, she's walking through the lobby of the Meridian Tower, not for a meeting, not for work, just passing through on her way to somewhere else. The atrium is crowded, lunchtime, people everywhere. She's halfway to the exit when someone bumps into her, hard enough that she has to step sideways to keep her balance. She turns. A man, younger, suit slightly rumpled, phone in one hand, coffee in the other. He doesn't apologize, doesn't stop, just keeps walking, his attention already on whatever's next. She watches him disappear into the crowd. Then she turns back toward the door and keeps walking. No pause, no hesitation, no looking back. Outside, the air is cool. The sun is bright. The street is full of people who don't know her name and never will. She pulls her coat tighter and starts walking. One block, then another. Her phone vibrates. She checks it. A text from him. Dinner at 7? She smiles. I'll be there. She slips the phone back into her pocket and keeps walking. The city moves around her. Traffic, noise, life continuing in every direction. And for the first time in a long time, she feels like she's part of it. Not above it, not below it, just moving through it like everyone else. Normal, ordinary, free. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Mr. Douglas Tales, where powerful stories unfold one moment at a time.